Now you're listening to Fantastic Formosa with John Abrams in Taipei. Hey, this is John Abrams, and welcome back to another Fantastic Formosa episode. Today, we're very fortunate to have another foreigner that lives in Taiwan that has fallen in love with Taiwan. How does that happen? Well, we're going to find out. And of interest, we both grew up in this same area of America. I grew up in Indiana, and he grew up in Kentucky. And you would think there wouldn't be too much of a difference, but actually there is. And we like to make fun of each other. So his name is Cody. Cody, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So, Cody, where in Kentucky are you from?
So I grew up in the country about an hour outside of the main city, Louisville. Most people don't know how to say Louisville correctly.
Right. Now, that's a big debate. We always said Louisville. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's pretty good for a Hoosier, for a guy from Indiana.
So you grew up in the countryside.
Mm-hmm. But then we moved to Louisville when I was around 10.
All right. So you didn't get much of that country bumpkin lifestyle, I guess.
Well, that was my mama's family. My grandma and them, they're country bumpkins.
Bumpkins. That might be a new word for many of you. It just means somebody who lives in the countryside, doesn't have a lot of access to city life. But it's pretty rare now to hear that kind of word with the internet and 300 channels on your TV. Everyone seems to be educated. But, when I was a young man, Kentucky always fascinated me because of, was it Daniel Boone?
Yeah, he's from Kentucky.
Daniel Boone was a real man. That was the famous. He was from the not Civil War, he was from the Revolutionary War, right?
I don't remember.
But he was a wanted man, right? They were hunting him for doing all kinds of. He wasn't exactly a good guy, was he?
Well, I mainly remember him for his coonskin cap.
Everyone in Kentucky had those silly hats.
I had one.
TV show too. There was a TV show with Daniel Boone, and of course, who's the guy in Alamo? He was from Tennessee, right?
Wasn't Daniel Boone in the Alamo too?
No, Daniel Boone was about 100 years before.
Okay.
I think, at least 50 years before that. He was in the Revolutionary War. That was Alamo. He was from Tennessee. He was a congressman, and he went to the Alamo to defend it, not thinking that they would lose the battle. Gosh, now we'll think about it in a minute. But America has a lot of these interesting characters who lived in the mountains and fought famous fighters. So where'd you go to school in Kentucky?
So I went to public school. First Oldham Elementary, Oldham County, and then Highland Middle School, which was in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay, all right. It's a big city.
I think there's about 1 million people if you count the whole county.
Right. Now, isn't there a famous boxer that grew up there?
Yes, there is. We have a museum named after him now, too. Muhammad Ali. He's from Louisville.
Yeah, he was a famous boxer back in the 1960s and 70s. He was amazing. He had very long arms, and he never seemed to lose. And he was a poet. He would make up these crazy poems that were great fun. Yeah. So how about university?
So the university, I left to go to university, actually, in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. L.A.
Yeah.
Now, for a Kentucky boy, now That's what we say in America. We say, oh, for a Kentucky boy or Hoosier, Indiana boy, or, Kentucky and whatever, countryside boy, country boy, whatever. L.A. must have been a radical change for somebody like that.
Well, it was. I lived a few places between Kentucky and L.A. Like I was in New York, Chicago, a few other places before I got to L.A.
Okay. All right. That's before you went to school in L.A.
Yeah.
All right. So you were in New York City or New York State?
Both.
Both, okay.
I was in Muncie, New York first. That's in Rockland County,
Uh-huh.
about an hour outside of the city.
Right.
And then I was in Brooklyn also for about a year and a half.
Wow, Brooklyn is pretty famous. Oh, my gosh. So you already were ready for L.A.?
I think so. I don't think L.A. was ready for me. I was ready for L.A.
Well, when you're talking about New York, you're talking about a very busy place, a lot of business. It's kind of dark there. The weather is not always that good. And then you go to L.A., where it's beautiful and bright and sunny days each day, actors, famous Hollywood stars. The exact opposite, I suppose. So you weren't ready for L.A., or L.A. wasn't ready for you. So you arrive there and you think, when is the sun going to go down, right?
That's the best part. One of the best parts of LA is definitely the weather.
Yeah. How far from the beach were you?
Well, I lived in a few places in LA. When I first moved there, probably about a half hour. Then after I moved from there, maybe like 15 minutes. And then I lived walking distance from the beach when I moved to Long Beach, about a half hour outside of LA.
Okay. All right. So you went to school there.
Mm-hmm.
Got your bachelor's degree, I guess.
Yes, bachelor's and first master's both in LA.
Same program or different?
Similar programs, two different schools.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the first program, your parents always pressure you in America to make sure that it is a practical degree in which you can get a real job. And you always disappoint your parents by getting a degree in something useless like basket weaving or just something, recreation or something silly. I got mine in political science only because my parents... that was the minimum. I wanted to get something else, but philosophy actually. And no, my parents were very, very, very. We have blue collar. I had blue collar family, so they were not white collar. So so I had a blue collar mindset. That means I was thinking about. But I don't know. How about you? What did you major in?
Oh, mine was mainly focused on different kinds of religions. And my family, too, definitely blue collar, but with rednecks.
Yeah, rednecks. I know. We might have to explain what a redneck is to our audience. A redneck is somebody who works out in the farms, and their back of their necks turn red from the sun. So I was definitely a redneck. I worked in the fields, and we'd wear scarves, red bandanas. We used to call ourselves, you refer to these people as corn-fed rednecks because they were so big, physically strong. Comparative religions, I think, is what you're talking about studying. Okay. So your parents were blue-collar, and all of a sudden their son is studying the differences between Buddhism and Hinduism and Christianity and all these other religions. And I'm sure they're asking you the same question that my parents asked me. What are you going to do with this? And I said, I'm going to work on a farm, apparently. What did your parents say to you? Or did you keep it a secret?
No, I told them, but my family was just so happy to have somebody in the family go to college and do basket weaving. We don't care. Just get your degree.
You got in.
I got in. So they were proud.
Oh my God. So your parents were shocked you got in.
Exactly.
And then proud. and let's forget about the rest.
Pretty much, you'll figure it out once you graduate.
Well, that was always the argument when I was young. Well, you'll figure it out once you get out, but I didn't figure it out, actually. But it took a long time. Generationally, we're about 10 years difference, I think. I still had to recover from the Vietnam War, the troubles from that. And
My dad was in Nam.
was he in Vietnam? Always have to ask these questions because I was part of that generation. I didn't go to Nam, I was too young, but I still knew all the places and names and units. And so where was he in Vietnam? Oh.
He didn't like to talk about it.
Okay, well, that's always the bad sign that he was in serious trouble. Yeah, okay, all right. That's in America when somebody says they don't want to talk about what they did in the war. That means it was pretty violent, pretty horrible experience. So, okay, well, the mood changed in the 1980s. Ronald Reagan became president, and everybody wanted to be a businessman on Wall Street. And I was still thinking about becoming a hippie. So I don't know why, but I wanted to be a hippie. That's all I wanted to do, even though I grew up during the Vietnam War and still thought I would be a good Green Beret. But no, sad. So you go out there and you're studying comparative religions. You must have a favorite during that time period of your life, a favorite religion during that time period.
Well, my favorite religion, I think, is Judaism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
Okay.
Right. But, I mean, we all have our first love.
Mm-hmm.
Our first girlfriend, whatever, and, they break your heart, and... I mean, I was really interested in Hinduism, but she graduated, went to another college. So, we didn't have the internet back then. We didn't have a lot. We had to go to the library. Shocking. So you got a degree, a bachelor's degree in comparative religions, and that meant that your next step would be what?
Well, then I got a master's degree, and after that, my second love, after my first love broke my heart, was in studying Buddhism.
So wait a minute, you got a second degree in what though?
Judaism. Jewish
okay,
studies.
you thought, well, that's interesting. You're Kentucky. What the hell?
Right.
So then you went in, got a master's in Buddhism.
First master's in Judaism, second master's in philosophy and religion, focusing on Chinese Buddhism.
Chinese Buddhism. Yeah, you had to be very specific.
Yes.
So at what point did you travel to study?
So I first came to Taiwan in 2010 to go to Foguangshan down in Kaohsiung, the big Buddhist complex down there.
Okay.
And I stayed there for 6 weeks. In something that they called the Humanistic Buddhist Monastic Life Program.
Okay. You sleep on the floor and...
wooden beds with no mattress. I'm not joking.
Oh, really?
For 1 week, no mattress.
What a program.
Yeah, I haven't gone back.
Okay. How do they grade you down there?
Well, it's a program where every year, I think they still do it, they invite around 100 foreigners to Taiwan to experience what it is like to live as a monk or a nun, a monastic, for a month to 6 weeks.
Right.
So you live at the monastery, you have a very special program. Luckily, there are no grades because class is at like 5 in the morning, so a lot of people are sleeping. And then for like 2 weeks at the end of the program, you tour Taiwan. That's what it was like the year I did it.
Okay. Then you returned back to university.
Yes.
And at what point did you graduate from that program?
I graduated from that program actually in 2013. I'd already moved back to Taiwan by the time I was I'd already finished coursework. Because 2010 came and did the program. Did not enjoy sleeping on wood, but fell in love with Taiwan.
Oh, yeah.
So then came back to Taiwan the following year in 2011 and completed the rest of my studies, just my dissertation and writing, from here.
Okay. All right. So what program was your dissertation?
That was in the philosophy and religion, that first one.
Philosophy and
Yeah.
religion dissertation. What school?
The California Institute of Integral Studies. That's
Okay.
the second master's, not the PhD.
Okay. So you went from master's to PhD.
Then I did a PhD at Leiden University and didn't finish that till 2017.
All right. Because of your dissertation or?
Yeah, so I stayed in Taiwan for 6 years doing field work at Buddhist communities for my PhD dissertation.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of folks in Taiwan may not realize it, but dissertations are often the most difficult thing to achieve or finish, even. And we even have a new phrase for that. What is it? Doctorate without dissertation or something like that.
ABD, all but dissertation.
Yeah, because they become so strict or so hard to complete. I don't know the exact lingo. And it's very sad to spend that much time on something and not complete it. And that's the one reason I never went after a dissertation, is everyone said don't do it. So I said, okay. So I thought, well, maybe I'll teach in a university or something. And then they said, it'll take you'll be poor for 10 years. And you reach a certain age. We used to call them graduate students, graduate students. We call them gradual students because they gradually realize they don't want to be in school anymore. That was an old joke. So you came to Taiwan and you were doing field work. That means you're visiting different temples around the country and doing a study.
Right. So I'd go to what they call in anthropology is participant observation. So you go to the different rituals, the services, and you participate, but you're doing so in order to do research.
All right. I see. And all this is a lot of data. I mean, this is a huge amount of data. Okay. And Chinese religion, I mean, that's a very broad term. I mean, you're talking about Taoism, you're talking about Confucianism. What are we talking about here in terms of Chinese religion?
So to put it into exact category, it would be the resurrection of Tang Dynasty esoteric Buddhism in Taiwan.
Okay.
Right. That's why I have that little intro.
That sounds like a typical title for a dissertation. And if you don't know what those words mean, don't worry about it. I don't either. We have a moment of clarity when we realize we don't want to get our dissertations after reading some of the titles of previous ones. So you had all of this data and you wrote it up. And did you fly back for your ceremony? Was there a ceremony or?
Yeah, well, since my school for my PhD, the Leiden is in the Netherlands, so I flew to the Netherlands to have my dissertation defense.
Now, that's how many people in a dissertation committee read it, and then what? Will they torture you for an hour, or how long does it take? What's the process? What they take turns with questions? I mean, I've heard all kinds of crazy stories.
Well, Leiden is very medieval.
Really?
It's very medieval.
In America, when we say, I'm going to get medieval on you, that means I'm going to torture you.
But it's more medieval, literally.
Oh, right.
Like they wear these special caps, and you'll have a table. I think there were 7 people against who I have to defend my dissertation. In this huge room that's like this old wood with all of the different paintings, hand paintings of all the different presidents of the university along the walls. And then I forget what the person's name is, his job, but he comes in with a big staff bangs it on the floor.
Wow.
And says, yeah, it's literally medieval.
Is this like Harry Potter or something?
It felt like it. I was looking for Dumbledore. I did not see him. Maybe he had the cloak of invisibility on.
Yes.
I don't know. So, and then he announces that the defense has begun. And they have exactly 45 minutes to attack my dissertation, ask me questions, find problems with it, and then I defend it and answer them back. And then the crazy medieval guy comes back in, bangs the staff on the floor a few more times, and says, time is up. And then the dissertation committee goes and deliberates, and I leave the room. And then they inform me whether I passed or not.
Wow. Okay. Honestly, that sounds more fun now.
It's kind of fun.
You know, to go to defend a dissertation in an American university is kind of a stale, boring. There's no old wood on the walls. The feeling of antiqueness, the castle. And were you wearing a uniform of any kind?
So you're supposed to wear a tuxedo. I did not wear a tuxedo. I just wore a suit. I cleared them with it first. I could wear just a regular suit because I did not want to fly to the Netherlands, invest in a tuxedo that I would never wear again, and just for the thing. So I just wore a suit and tie.
I'm surprised if that was California, it would have been one of those tie-dye T-shirts,
And flip-flops.
The flip-flops and T-shirts. Flip-flops, very hippie looking. I hope you have pictures of this whole thing. This is just...
I do.
My God. And this is in Leiden? Leiden, Netherlands, right? Wow. It's nice that somebody keeps up some interesting traditions in the world. Is that university a religious university, or is it just a matter of... What is it?
No, it's not a religious university. It's a public university. Actually, all of the royalty, I didn't know this before I went there, but the Netherlands, they also have like a royal family, kind of like, the UK, England.
Right.
And all of them go to this university. I think it's the oldest university in the Netherlands.
I had no idea it was so prestigious. My experience in college has always been a very sterile, boring modern buildings, no sense of history in the buildings, brick buildings. And then I visited Georgetown University once, and I thought, oh, wow, this is a real university. It feels old, and I just felt cheated, You feel automatically cheated. So you got your dissertation, and so we had to call you doctor now.
Yes, unfortunately. So any appointment you ever make with me is a doctor's appointment.
A doctor? Oh, my God. A doctor's rates. That's not a good thing. Do you actually put that on your name card and everything?
I have doctor on my name card.
Okay, all right. How about your checks?
My check?
Your bank checks.
I can't remember the last time I wrote a bank check. So...
Well, there's always a danger of someone thinking you're a medical doctor and yelling for help.
I don't put doctor on the thing on the form when I book an airplane ticket because of that.
Yes.
I don't.
Do we have a doctor on the airplane? We have a heart attack.
Yes, but no.
Yes, I can give him the last rites.
Exactly.
If I can remember them. Which religion is he? You could easily have gone into the Army chaplain program and been an Army chaplain. With those poor guys on the beach that are dying, you could be praying for them as bullets and go by your head. So after your doctorate, what did you do?
So I was still living in Taiwan then.
All right.
And I was teaching at a university in Kaohsiung.
All right.
Yeah, Fuyin University.
Oh, was it Catholic or?
No, it's a private university, but it's like a Keji Dashu. It's one of the University of Technology in Taiwan.
All right. What did you teach?
English.
Okay.
Yeah, I taught English.
But that was with a doctoral degree.
Well, I was already working there before I finished my PhD. So after my dissertation defense and I got the PhD, I came back to Taiwan, finished my contract, and then went to the University of California, Berkeley, to do a 2-year postdoc
Okay. All right.
teaching Buddhism at Berkeley.
So that was probably more money.
It was more money, but it's also a lot more expensive than Kaohsiung.
Really?
So
Oh, no. Okay. All right.
I was at Berkeley 2 years.
All right. All right. The Berkeley has this reputation of being kind of crazy.
Oh, yeah. It deserves it. Not the professors, or at least not the ones I worked with.
Right.
They're normal.
But the city
The city
around the school.
they call it Berkeley.
Berserkly.
Because it's bizarre.
Bizarre. Yeah, that comes out of the 1960s, right?
Mhm.
With the different... Berkeley during the 1960s was famous for drugs and hippies. If you don't know what a hippie is, look it up on the internet. Marijuana, tie-dye T-shirts. The free speech movement was a big deal in Berkeley, right? Now it's the non-free speech issue.
I was about to say that.
Wow. So Berkeley, most people don't graduate from Berkeley still sane. They're usually a little crazy by the time they get out of Berkeley.
Well, I taught there, so what does that say about me?
Yeah. All right. I'm sure you had some strange questions.
100%.
Did you have people that were just trying to practice Buddhism, but you kept trying to explain to them that that's not Buddhism, or what you're trying to do is not exactly accurate?
Some people have gotten mad about the things I've said when I've been teaching Buddhism.
Oh.
They're like, oh, this is not what my master taught me. I'm like,
My master.
right. Their master is
Where? What master?
their Buddhist master. Their
Yeah,
guru.
down the street, living in a tent, maybe.
A lot of them have nice houses nowadays.
Really? We have a problem in America since at least the 1970s called, what is it called? Religion, New Wave or New Age religion. New Age religion. And it has, it's a mix of Buddhism, Hinduism, Eskimo religion, Christianity, and they have music to it, and posters, and a little bit of drugs, usually hallucinogens, right? And that's very popular in America. I don't understand it. It's hard to follow. Some of it has to do with witchcraft. Some of it has to... There's a few what we call Wicca witchcraft practicing. That's also part of this New Age movement. So I'm sure you had a lot of those students in your classroom.
At Berkeley, because most of my students were not majoring in religion or in Buddhism, a lot of them were actually Chinese engineering students who were hoping to get an easy A to fulfill their humanities requirements.
Were they from mainland China or Taiwan?
Most of them were from mainland China.
How would they know much about religion? Do they teach it there, mainland China?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But the class was Chinese Buddhism. They're like, oh, China. Okay, I'll take this class.
See, that doesn't make any sense. For me, at least, I would think that no, that's not. That doesn't. I had a friend that was studying Chinese in my old university, and it was full of mainland Chinese and Taiwanese students who were getting easy A's. And he had trouble studying Chinese in class because they were just so far advanced. And this is Introductory 101 Chinese. So there was nothing he could do about but quit, finally. But he went to the professor to complain about it. And the professor said, well, I can't do anything. And he went to the dean, the dean said, I don't know what to do. Nobody knows what to do about anything in universities. So your living in Berkeley and you're experiencing all these strange questions, and does Berkeley have an easy grade deal? Like, if everybody gets a C, if you get an F, 5 people get A's, 5 people get F's, and 80% get C's and D's. Everyone gets a C. Is that how it works?
Well, there's something they call grade deflation.
Grade deflation.
Where not everybody can get an A because then the school looks too easy. I kid you not. That's an actual problem I've heard. Not just at Berkeley.
Yes, I went through this. I watched this. Made me very angry. Yeah, I get an A and I get a B or C. I go, what the hell? And they tell about the curve, something about the grading curve. And I go, what do you mean? I might as well just get C's from now on. But I'm told that in the big Ivy League schools in America, everybody gets A's now. I don't know if that is true or false. But so what drove you out of Berkeley? Was it the insanity of these crazy questions, Who's, like, the most famous question my children ask me is, who's God's God? I go, hell, I don't know. I don't know who's God's God. It's God. These questions must have been bounced off your forehead a billion times. Did it just drive you crazy after a while? You want to walk out the door and to keep walking to the airport and without a ticket get on the airplane and say Taiwan?
Well, I never really wanted to leave Taiwan. I only went back because of the job in Berkeley and because my father was living in Sacramento a couple hours away at the time.
I see.
So, but my contract was only for 2 years as a postdoc.
Mm-hmm.
So after that it finished, then I went and taught high school for a few years.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you taught high school where?
And Palo Alto. I would actually pass Facebook, now Meta headquarters, on the way to work every single morning.
Where real people make real money.
Right. Or where fake people make real money.
That's even better, yeah. Fake people. Yeah, I love what they did at Twitter when he went in there and got rid of the coffee machine that made 5 different types of coffee from different countries. Elon Musk went in there, right, and threw out the ping pong table and fired half the staff. Yeah, some of these companies have become a little strange. So, for 2 years, what did you teach in high school for 2 years?
I taught mainly world religions.
All right. Is that allowed in high school in America? In Indiana, you can't teach religion at any level in high school.
Well, it was a private religious high school.
Oh.
So it was allowed.
Like a Catholic?
Jewish.
Okay. The Jews? Okay. They also have they have high schools too, yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Catholics have their own, and if you go south, they'll have Baptist high schools. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can do that. But in America, we have a secular religious divide. So if taxpayer money goes to a high school, it cannot teach religion. Okay, so that's called a secular government. And it's a good thing. Otherwise, we would have, civil wars every 3 or 4 years. So, all right, so you're teaching comparative religions at high school. Mm-hmm. For how long?
4 years.
4, mm-hmm. Okay. So this is the senior high?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Now, do they ask you more intelligent questions?
Yes.
Than the Berkeley?
Actually, yes, because the school had an elective system, so kids could get to choose which classes they wanted to take. Not for their math, science, that they had to take those standard. But the classes I taught were electives, and so they had a menu of which ones to take. So the students in my classes, they had chosen my class, and they were actually very, very interested in the material.
Okay. So if you choose a class, but That's the same in Berkeley too. Those people were interested in whatever they were interested in.
Well, it was always in the high school level, it was always the freshmen and the sophomores, which you would think would be the most awful kids because of their age. They were the most fun to teach because they were there to learn. But then once they hit their junior and senior years, they're just focused on college. And so it was not fun to teach them because they were just there for a good grade.
Yeah, I was not that way. I did not know about this college thing in high school. So, high school, I don't think I could teach high school kids.
Actually, high school is not that bad. Middle school is the 7th level of hell.
Junior, seventh level of hell. Is that a Catholic term? Or?
I think so, from Dante's Inferno.
All right. I love Dante's Inferno. Man, some great lines in it. You know, you can serve in heaven, or what's the other one? Or
I'd rather reign in hell.
Reign in hell, or serve. I
Yeah.
think that applies to a lot of entrepreneurs.
I think so.
I think they used that in Star Trek once as a great explanation as to why he was going to do what he did. But yeah, I can see why religious literature would be, very attractive. But you grew up in a generation of people that were becoming non-religious, that were rejecting concepts about, godhood or religion. Christians who were Christians suddenly embraced New Age religious ideas, and it just turned into like a Mardi Gras of religious ideas. Mardi Gras being, dress up funny and dance around crazy, and that's religion. The old phrase that God is dead in the West. We're talking about the Western concepts of God. Is that an issue that you obviously discuss with your professors?
Well, they do talk about 100 years ago or so, maybe even more. Everybody thought religion would die because of science and everything.
Right.
But religion has had such a resurgence throughout the world. Like, look at the Bible Belt in America. Look at other parts of the world where people have in a lot of places, even though there are more non-religious people, the people who are religious are becoming more religious.
Okay. But I don't agree that back home, Indiana and Kentucky, they still read the Bible. They go to church, but they don't know they just listen. They don't actually know what the Bible says.
That's very true.
Hey, thanks, Cody, for coming, all right?
Of
Much
course.
appreciated. And I hope you can come back real soon, all right?
All right, thank you very much.
Cheers.